My name is Selma Fielding, and I was born in Marple, in an area, Bowden Lane. My parents had just moved into that house before I was born. And I know that a friend of mine here, Lillian Gunson, she was also born in Marple. And I thought we'd memorise one or two things or tell you about things, as Marple was 80 odd years ago, really. And as I have done the bottom end of Marple before on the website that's written, I thought I'd like to just talk generally about Marple. Do you remember, well you will do, Pearson's the Butchers?
Oh yes.
And then a bit farther up the road.
A bit lower down the smithy.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes. Oh yes, we
At
used
the
to go to
smithy.
the smithy. There were two smithies, weren't
The
there?
two smithies, yes.
Yes.
One where Shirley Avenue is now,
Yes.
and one across the road at the bottom of Stockport Road.
Yes. I can remember watching him doing the horses and making things. It was fascinating, you know.
And those little shops down the steps.
Oh yes. And there was one gentleman who had that shop, and eventually he moved to Dudefield.
It had
But
ice
before that,
cream, sold
everywhere
ice
he
cream.
went, he said, "O.R., O.R." until we christened him Mr. O.R. But I went to, as a little girl, I went to what is now Bravins. It was then Marple High School, so I spoke rather posh. And when I went to work, they couldn't understand me because I was rather posh. But I soon got out of it. Working for the railway company soon brought me down. And my mother, I don't know why, seemed to want me to just play with certain people. And I mean, she'd only come off a policeman's family who lived in his retirement just up Stockport Road. Where will it be now? Opposite what
the
was
roofing places.
added a roofing place, or the stonemasons.
No, Duddy's roofing
Was it
place.
two?
That was the policeman's house.
No, well, he wasn't a policeman then, he'd retired.
Collier.
They were just, it was Mr. Collier. Well, grandfather was Pickstock,
Yeah.
and they lived across the road, and they had
Yeah.
gardens up to their houses, and lovely iron fencings, which they took away during the war. And that now is the tanning centre, I believe, that house. And I used to go there. All you did was just push the door and go in. It was so safe in Marple in those days. And do you remember a shop across the road, Lillian? The sweet shop.
Across Stockport Road?
Yes. Honeybills.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Where the bookshop is now.
That's right. Well, I used to go to my grandma's. I got a bit older. Probably do a bit of shopping for her, and I'd get a penny. And I'd be across that road like I don't know what. It wasn't so busy, and I would collect chocolate, and they had those little bags, you know, with all kinds of bits and pieces in. And do you remember that?
I do, yes.
I think those are called Lucky Dip.
Yes, that's right.
Whereabouts was that? Was that in 19...
Where the bookshop.
No, what year was it?
Oh,
19...
it was there for a long
It'd
while.
be late 1930s,
Yeah.
before the war, wasn't it?
And during the war it was there, wasn't
Yes,
it?
I can't remember. Only my auntie that lived with my grandfather and granddad and her husband, she was a dressmaker, and she used to make dresses, and some of the ladies that came were very, you know, and they wanted them very tight. And there was a corseteer, do you remember her, across the road?
Yes. In the wool shop that was.
Yes, that's right. And my auntie used to send them over to this consortium to get the proper fitting, and they used to borrow corsets, come back to my auntie's.
Mrs. Bowers.
What's her name?
Yes.
I can't remember her name.
Mrs. Bowers.
And they used to send, and then they used to come back in these corsets, borrowed, have the fitting of their dress, and then take them back. What they looked like without the corsets, I don't know. But that was interesting. And the swimming baths, of course, were built just before we were born, weren't they?
Oh, they were there, yes.
Yes, given by the McNairs.
It's been there that long, has it?
Yes.
Mm.
But before the swimming baths, before Union Road, there was also houses with gardens. And my uncle, Frank Pickstock, had a decorator's shop. Do you remember that, Lillian?
Oh, yes. Where? Well, my uncle took it over.
Yes, he
He
did.
bought it.
But that was later, very much later on, when my uncle had died.
Yeah.
But it was just, it wasn't a shop to begin with. It was just...
It was where the, just beyond the post office.
Yes,
higher up
but they
than the
had
post
nice
office.
gardens in front.
Yeah, just higher up than the post office.
They had gardens in front, didn't they?
Mm.
And then they were taken away. So they had a shop then. There wasn't a shop before. It was just done from home. And my cousin and I, Lorna Pickstock, we went in and used to help trim paper. He got one of those things and all the bits came off. And we used to keep the bits and make things on. It's amazing, isn't it, what you did when you were little? And during the war, when you couldn't get things.
Do you remember the shop on Union Road where you took your wireless batteries,
Oh, yes.
accumulators,
Can't
be
remember
recharged?
what they were called.
On the corner of Union Road and whatever that road
Highfield
is.
Road.
Highfield Road.
And then didn't it have a greengrocers and grocery shop there as well?
No, we sold firelighters.
Firelighters, was it?
Firewood and things like that.
And the back, which is now I don't know what it is, but the electricity power station. Well, to the side of that, there was like a village green, as you might say, with a little
Yes.
path across. I think that's
We used to
Fielding.
put a big marquee on there.
Yes.
The Salvation Army. I can remember them coming one time. They were having this rally and they gave us all threatens, but they didn't say we had to put it in the collection. We thought we were getting
Used it, had better
threatened.
use for that, yeah, definitely.
And they used to sing on the, excuse me, they used to sing on the corner near that shop, didn't
That's
they?
right.
Every Saturday or Sunday night.
Yeah.
And I used to go running across from my grandma's because you could see them from the back door, you know, we used to run across. And of course that's all built in now. You see these houses, Highfield Road was there, but these houses where there was a garage at the bottom.
At the bottom, yes.
Well, I've forgotten who had that garage now.
No, I can't
But that was at the bottom. And then there was a cycle shop because I had one or two things for my bike from there on Stockport Road. And then there was the bakers, Bessie Wright,
Bessie Wright, yeah.
yes,
I remember them.
and all her children. And then, of course, Bessie left, got married again, and her son took over the business, and then he wasn't well.
Was the other Wright girl that married Cooks from the taxis.
Oh, yes,
Married his son,
yes. Yes,
Bessie's sister.
yes, I remember that, yes. It's amazing, isn't it? And the taxis then was Cook's taxis. Now it's, and he was an undertaker, wasn't he, for a time?
Yes, yeah.
And now it's, I don't know who's got it now.
Ian Mann, isn't
Ian
it?
Mann. Mm.
Has Ian Mann got it? I know he
Yes.
trained there, but I didn't know he got
Oh
it.
yes, yes.
I didn't
Very
know
well
it.
established there.
I know Ian Mann because I was his dinner lady at school.
Yeah, he started up at David White's Butchers.
Did
Ian
he?
Mann, yeah. There's a butcher's boy.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, and then he went to
Then he
yes,
started up the
Mr.
Yes.
Walker, wasn't it?
Mr. Walker, yeah.
The butchers,
Yeah,
yes.
yes, yes. I used to go there for my auntie. Up Church Lane, there was Brailsford's, the decorators. Do you remember them?
Yeah.
They owned all those shops round
And
the
the
corner there.
confectioners.
Pardon?
Two sisters, confectioners.
There was Mr. Greenhalgh, a baker as well.
Yes, but
It was
this was
opposite the
Brailsford's.
This was Brailsford.
This was Brailsford's decorators shop
Mm.
in competition with my uncle on Stockport
Yeah.
Road.
That
And
was where the dentist is now.
that's right.
That corner opposite what was Shaw's Garage.
Yes.
I don't know, some used car place now. Some car place.
Well, where is, I think it's the
Church
dentist.
Lane Motors, I think it's called actually.
The dentist waiting room was my auntie and uncle's lounge.
That's right.
And you could watch the children going up and down to school or
Yeah,
anybody
yeah.
going around because all the ladies, my mother and Auntie Lucy, her sisters, all got together and they played rummy and they played whist, if there was enough of them, on a Monday afternoon, and they all sat with their hats on
Yeah.
all the time. And the shop bell would go and Auntie would have to go dashing off and see to the shop. But it was amazing how things... And then across from there was another little shop, wasn't there? Across from...
Yes.
I don't know
Yes.
what that was.
Yes, where the insurers are now.
Yes. That was a little shop up some
On the
steps.
corner of the, well, we
Service
I still
road.
call it the New Road.
Yeah, the
Trinity
service
Street
road.
or something.
But I used to go shopping for my auntie because she couldn't leave the shop. And I used to go to Walker's, the butcher's. I used to get tuppence from her.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of money to spend at Mr. Honeybill's.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
When I was young, I used to clean his duck boards. You know the boards?
Oh,
that you spin
yes.
on? Yes. I used to clean his duck boards, scrub them, scrub the chopping board with the nail brush, clean his car, and I got £1.
That
I
was,
think I was out of the fifth of
that was a lot of money.
10 shillings or something like that.
Shillings, yeah.
Yes, it wasn't a lot to know that.
And on a Monday sometimes, if I called in at my auntie's, they'd send me to the bank with the takings, you know, for the week
Yeah.
before. I mean, it was a thing
Oh,
to
yeah.
do. Now, anybody
no,
knowing a
no,
child was
no.
going in, I was only about
Yeah.
11 or 12.
But everybody knew everybody then. All the
They
bank
did.
managers knew
Yes.
everybody.
Yes.
Yes, they did.
Speak to you on the street
Yeah.
and everything. And
Yes.
the police walked round, you knew the policeman as well.
Going back to the other end again, do you ever remember the co-op opening on the end of Dare Road? Lillian?
No, I don't remember that.
Well, I remember that it'd probably be about 7, and I remember going with my mother, and there's a post office. Well, there was. I think that's closed now.
Mm.
The end of Dare Road on the corner of Stockport Road, going down.
The end of, oh, do you mean the new shops?
Well,
Near the station.
yes.
Mm.
Oh,
Anyway,
Yeah,
one
it
of
used to be
them's
a
an
post
one of
office
them's
there.
an off license
yes,
now.
I
It's
don't
now
remember
beautician
co-op
now.
down
It's
there.
yeah, there's now the
It was Roselle
Premier
Post,
shops, I think,
it was Roselle
Yeah.
Post
and hairdressers.
Oh, is it?
Yes, you can go and get your hair
Beauticians,
done.
yeah.
Get yourself beautiful.
But the thing is, they opened this little co-op. It was lovely,
Yeah.
and they gave all the children that went in bags with different things in, and they had those, you know, things that you wound round and then pull them and see how long you could keep
Oh.
them going.
Yo-yos
Yes.
and that.
No,
Yes,
it's the two
Oh, yeah,
strings.
they
and yo-yos as well, and a few sweets and different things for the children. And I used to be able to go along Dare Road on my own and go shopping there for my mother, because living at the bottom of Bowden Lane. Well, now it's not safe on Dare Road.
No.
It's so, you know, so much traffic and congested.
Yeah.
So things have changed a lot in Marple, haven't they? I mean, you could
Oh,
run
right,
across
but
Stockport Road. You didn't need a green man or
well,
anything,
do
did
you
you?
remember the cottages up at the side of the Jolly Sailor?
Yes,
Oh, no, it was a spare ground, and then the market was there.
yes. I've got a photograph somewhere there that I copied off for somebody
Yeah,
of those.
Where was the
cottage.
market, you say?
next to the Jolly Sailor,
Ah,
where
right.
the shops are laid back and set back.
Yes.
There
There's
was
a
row
market
of
there, was
shops.
there? Yeah.
There were a row of shops upstairs, houses, sorry, upstairs, up steps, and one shop misstocked,
Yes,
and they moved across the road into Shirley Avenue.
she kept her shop going for a long time, and she must have been
Shirley
getting
Avenue, yes.
90ish. You know, it was
And,
wonderful.
Then when they pulled the cottages down, they had the market there.
Every Tuesday, you could get an ounce of wool for 3p.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. It was quite a good little market.
Yes, and then when the market wasn't there at the weekend, there was a fun fair as well, wasn't there?
Yes.
And behind the Jolly Sailor, which was then where Smithy Court is, there was a bowling green.
Mm.
And my father used to play on that, and they used to have competitions with the bowling green men as well. It was amazing. And my father and his Mr. Pearson and quite a few other fellows and your uncle,
My uncle.
yes, they all used to go in the Jolly Sailor, and they were an elite lot. They were allowed to go in a room right at the back where nobody else.
Nobody else was allowed
No.
in.
And they, as long as they got the drink before 10:30, I think it was, they
Yeah.
could go on drinking. You know, we could be piled up with drinks all around. And they used to. But
I
my
think they
father
call
was.
that a lock-in, don't they?
Yes, and I always remember my father went up the road at the same time every night. He went about 10 to 9, locked my mother in, wouldn't let anybody get in. I couldn't even get in with my key. And then he would come back again about 10 to 11, so he didn't go out for too long. And there was a gentleman down Stockport Road, Mr. Walford, do you remember him?
And Mr. Derbyshire
Yes.
had twin boys.
Yes. And they played golf, those boys, and one of them's still around, I think. And somebody said to him, you know, you shouldn't be at the same time every day, because now when things were getting that people were attacking people and doing things, but he insisted on going, you know, he survived. And then of course the cricket club was set up on Bowden Lane.
When did they set that up? What year was that?
It was the year we got married, 1951.
51.
Yes, because I remember going and it was snowing in June, and my father was playing in the first game because he was one of the founders. It used to be down Cays Wood now,
Yeah.
the Marple Cricket Club, and it closed during the war, and then it was set up again. And my father was one of the long-standing members, so he was one of the first to be open bat or something. I don't understand it.
Opening batter, yeah.
Yes, and
First man in.
I remember the snow coming like I don't know what, you know, that afternoon. And then it cleared. We didn't have any more after
Were they
that.
playing cricket in the snow, were they?
Yeah, in June
Yeah.
that was, yeah. But then my father used to go up there Saturday and Sunday, and he used to go up on his own. Instead of going to the Jolly Sailor, he would go to the cricket club. So, but I mean, now what would they think about it, you think, with the Smithy Court there and the cricket club's changed and all that? It's so different, isn't it?
The cricket club's still there, isn't it?
Yes, but it's changed. It's
been
not,
rebuilt and that, hasn't it?
Yeah.
yes, because they've got the
Squash courts.
squash courts and different things there now, yes.
Yeah. I think we call that diversifying.
There's always been a garage on Stockport Road, hasn't there, Lillian?
Yes.
Where the
and-
garage is now.
Yes.
And the other one across the road, on the corner of Hibbert Lane.
Yeah, it used to be Braddock's.
That's right.
Braddock's,
Yeah,
yes,
Braddock's, yeah.
yes.
Used to have a Jowett Jupiter. Remember that? And Roy had his further down. Is it Oh No Road? Was it
Yes, Oh No Road,
Oh
opposite
No
the
Road,
recreation
yes,
ground,
yes.
yes.
Yeah,
And
Roy
then-
Braddock.
And then the people, there was a fellow from Strines worked for him, wasn't he?
Yes.
And then they moved from there down near the lakes. Not the lakes, near
the aqueduct.
near the aqueduct.
Uh,
And whoever runs it now is still there, aren't they?
Oh, they went to Comstill.
Oh, did they go to Comstock?
That's right, just before Comstill Library that is now. It was the
Yes.
junior
The mill
school.
place there.
Across the road from the mill
Yeah.
and down a lane. And they went down there because I used to take my car.
And what
What
was it
Wearside
called, that
was it?
fellow?
Wearside Garage?
I don't know what it was called. No idea.
And what was he called? Lomas?
Yes, Duke
Loomis,
Robert. He
yeah.
used to work for
Yes,
Braddock,
yes.
that's
and
right.
he
Yes.
took it on.
And his son started up a garage in Strines.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
As you go along, you wander around, you know, and go round to Strines Station. There was some old buildings there, and he had a garage there, the son.
I always remember Roy. I was only young. I was probably 18, I think, at the time, and I had an MG, which was my granddad's old car, which was an MG Sports Saloon, 1947, and he sold it to me, and I'd been driving for a while, a couple of months or something, and I was coming past, you know, where they used to have a jet station on the crossroads of St Mary's Way in Stockport.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
There used to be a jet station.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden the car started to tick very loudly, so I actually pulled into the garage, and the car just stopped and wouldn't go any further. And I phoned up Roy Braddock, and he came out and he said, "You stupid, it's run out of petrol." Because this ticking noise was the actual electric pump, and I didn't know anything about it in those days, you know.
Oh,
So I
dear.
felt quite a fool, actually, because I stopped at a petrol station.
And you'd no petrol.
Yes.
Oh, dear. So you got filled up and then came home.
Yeah, well, I put
Jolly
a gallon in, I think. Yeah. It's about 4 shillings in those days, I
Yeah,
think.
it's a lot different than now. I don't know how much it is
A
now with
gallon.
not having a car.
Yeah.
But the thing was, going up Stockport Road, my mother used to say to me, you know, as you go up past the baths and by the stationers there, oh, it is a hill. And I used to say, oh, Mum, well, it is a hill now.
Yeah.
And then it was lovely at the top, wasn't it? There was the old mill and the workmen there. And when I was going back to school, because we had to go home at dinner time, when I was going back, there was a lot of men squatting on the floor, eating their sandwiches from the mill. And one of them was my uncle. He was an overseer or something.
This is the Hollands Mill you're talking
Yes.
about?
Hollands
Yes,
Mill.
And we got to know all these people, you know, they were nice. And across all that block belonged to the co-op.
Yeah, they were all little
My-
individual units, wasn't it?
Yes.
Grocers,
My
fishmongers.
father, my
Yeah.
father worked at Hollands Mill. And
Yes.
he came from Comstall, my family, from Comstall Mill, and went to Hollands. And my father went to Japan before the war with a loom, because he was what's called a fettler.
Oh, yes.
And he had to go with this loom and a lot of other people. And I always remember he came back and he brought me this beautiful china doll. But he said, I always remember him saying, that's it. You know, fabrics in this country.
Yes.
Now.
Yes,
And
it
it
was
was.
sad that, wasn't it?
Yes.
Did you ever go down to Roman Lakes at all? In
I
those
used
days?
to, not now, I can't
No,
get down
no,
there.
but in those days before the
Oh,
war.
oh
Not
yes.
regular.
Yeah,
Really,
It was the,
because they came
because they had
from-
dances and things.
Yes,
down there.
what was it called on a Sunday afternoon? All the girls went down dressed up, and the fellows were coming on the train.
Monkey
Yeah.
run.
Pardon?
The monkey run.
The monkey run, that was it.
Which was the monkeys, though? The men or the ladies?
I think it was us. But and there was all kinds of show things, you know, you peep through this and the
Oh
other.
yes, what the butler saw.
Yeah.
They had motorboats, I don't know, when I was young. Did they have motorboats or were they rowing boats in your
They were
days?
rowing
Rowing
boats.
Yes, yeah.
Because I couldn't swim and I was a bit scared of going on a rowing boat
Yeah.
because of it tipping up. Because my cousin did tip up on one,
Yeah.
but she could swim, so
Yeah.
she ran back.
I don't think it's only
It
about
wasn't
2
very
foot deep,
deep.
isn't
It's
it?
not very deep. And they used to freeze it over, you know, in the winter so that people could skate on
That's
it.
right, yeah.
Let it freeze, you know,
Yes,
they used to
be
run
nice.
some of the water off.
Be nice, that.
Yes. But
Pity
we
they
used
don't do that now.
They
yeah.
do things down there now.
Oh, yes.
Oh, they do a lot. Well, you
They have
know,
a
you
tea
go
dance,
down
yeah,
there, don't you?
Yeah.
What they call the tea dance, but it isn't really a tea dance, though. You don't get a cup of tea down there.
Well, we used to walk down there,
Yeah.
and we used to walk along and back again and round and into the lakes. I think we had to pay to go in, didn't we, at one
You
time?
had to pay to go actually into the
Yes. So on a Sunday afternoon,
Yeah.
and you were all dressed up in your Sunday best, you know, hats and the lot,
Yeah.
and all these
Used
train-
to be a circular walk
Mm.
around up.
these
onto
trains were
Strange
coming
Road, up
in,
onto
weren't
the
they?
canal.
Trains coming in about every hour to Marple
Oh, yeah,
Station.
full of trippers.
Men and women were coming into Marple Lakes
Good.
to see who they could pick up.
Yeah, yeah. yeah.
And it was, you know, amazing really. I mean, my son has a house now on Lowley Road that he lets out. He lived there for some time. And I see people going past when I've been there, but they were just going past in the crowds from Marple Station.
Did you ever go to the old Mellor Mill foundations, you know, where the old mill used to be?
Well,
Yeah.
I
there
know it's
wasn't
long
much-
before your time, actually, because it was burnt down in 1890s.
Yes, but we used to
I
look at the ruins, but it was a bit dangerous really
Yeah.
because the stones were wobbly,
think. Yes,
you know.
yeah.
And then, which I believe they're going to do up again
Yes,
now.
yeah.
And the garden house,
Yes.
well, across there was a little sort of rickety wall. And well, it was like a little bridge really, and you could get across to what was the garden house.
Did you?
But I think they've altered that now. They're trying to build that up, aren't they?
I know there's a.
They've done it up, haven't they?
Well, they've
Brenda Reed's
excavated it.
husband, yeah.
Yeah, they've excavated the garden house. I know the chap wants to develop it, but I'm not sure how the council are going to approve, because they might think it's going to be.
It's this society.
Well,
Which one
I
is
looked
it?
on the website and it said the Civic Society
It's
have suggested things.
Brenda Reed's husband.
Yes.
He's very involved with it.
Yeah.
And she is.
And
I believe what it is they want to build a house there, and it's a green belt, you see.
Yes.
And they say he's actually said they're going to give a path or something that you can walk along, but it's not going to be given indefinitely. You can pull the
Oh no, this is they've joined it.
No, I did. Yeah, no, but they're actually wanting to put. They said if the path was there all the time,
yes,
you see, what they could do is they build this a house. 3 years later, they'd sell it. Somebody can come and live there. They pull the permission to use the pathway, and it's a dwelling. Then you say,
I still own some land.
Yeah,
but it has been a dwelling, hasn't it? Because
a long time ago. Yeah, it was
somebody lived there with 8 children.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
But the thing is, apparently what they wanted to have it sort of made into a bit of a museum and a cafe. Well, they want volunteers.
Yeah.
This is a civic society. And different things to be done down there, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Anne Hurt is very involved with it.
That's right.
Yes, she is.
Well, she's on the Mellor Mill side, actually,
yes,
not
she's
with the
she's not with not with this part.
It's what's called O'Neill's legacy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our neighbour here, Anne Moores, she's going to something at the Navigation once a month, and she's been asking me about information, if I know anything about O'Neill's and the history, and about the lime kilns. And
I know they're having a dig now on the recreation ground.
yes,
They're digging up what's left of the railway lines.
that's right.
The
But
little tram lines.
she's not digging up, but she's been going to the meetings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know the track comes
Yes.
along through the recreation ground.
Yeah, you can see where it was actually, because there's a ledge that goes along. Then it went across Arkwright Road,
Yeah,
And
O'Neill's
down-
Road, or what it was called,
Yes,
and
and
then
then
straight
down-
down that rough road. Yeah.
St Martin's Road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then out at the other end and across.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and down the other side road of the
And there
canal.
was a part that went through Brabbins Park, because it's a little raised bit in Brabbins Park.
Well, I know it went down the road,
Yes,
but where it, I mean, there was the hotel down there, at the
yes,
bottom, but somewhere around there, because it was before the canal was connected, the 16 lots were connected, you see.
yes. But there's also a bit in Brabbins Park. I mean, at one time you couldn't go in Brabbins Park when I was little.
Yeah. I don't know anything about that, actually.
And there's a ridge, and then it went across to the river. And if you go to the river, just as the ridge finishes, you'll see they were going to have a bridge across, and it was never completed.
Oh, no, that's
Yeah.
a folly. They call that the folly. It was actually, I'm not sure it was Samuel O'Neill, but they wanted to build another factory down there. And that was a weir he was making.
Yes.
And there was, if you look, there is actually partly a small area for water.
That's
through,
right.
But they never found if they could get enough water to
Ah,
power another.
I see.
Uh,
So he never finished
never
it.
finished it, so it just got
Yeah.
left like that.
Because I know we used to walk on the top of that, and then we found primroses
Yeah.
down in the bottom.
Yeah.
It
Still
was
people there because they have ropes and they swing across on those like tarps.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, we used to go down there a lot. But when I was in St Martin's Girl Guides, because I don't know why, I was in that area, you know, living on Bowden Lane.
Well, because the boundary, the middle of Stockport Road was the boundary. And
Yes,
if you lived on the left-hand side, looking up Stockport Road, if you lived on the left-hand side, you were in St Martin's Parish.
yes,
And you went to St Martin's School,
yes,
because my mother had to get special permission for me, because we lived on the left-hand side,
yes.
to go to All Saints, which was the right-hand side.
Well, would I have had to have special permission to go to the guides then?
Yes.
Oh, well, I didn't, so I went to St Martin's.
You were obviously on the
Yeah.
posh side.
And the thing was, when we were married,
No, you were on the right side for St Martin's Guides.
our bands were called out at St Martin's as well
Yes,
as All
you
Saints.
were on the right side, you see.
Yes, but the thing was,
We went to the Methodist.
I
church,
went to,
the Grove, but school was All Saints if you lived on the right-hand side of Stockport Road.
yes, because Lorna went to All Saints,
Yeah,
so she was all right.
Yeah.
And you had to have special permission.
Yeah.
Was Lorna a friend of yours?
a
Cousin.
Cousin.
Frank
I went
Pickstock's
to school
daughter.
with her.
Frank Pickstock's daughter. We're all about the
It's an
same.
interesting name, Pigstock.
Yeah.
Was he? Is it a kind of an old name for a pig farmer or something
No,
like that? 'Cause
pig.
the old
P.I.
Pigstock.
Pig.
Yeah.
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 Pigstock.
So he went round and put people in stocks, did he? So you could throw
It's
cabbage
my
down.
grandfather.
We used to call him, he was very, very tall and very thin. And we used to call him the galloping hairpin.
Who was that?
Mr. Pickstock.
You mean my grandfather? The
Well,
one that had
well,
been the policeman?
I don't know.
Because the other one, Uncle Frank, wasn't so
Yeah.
very tall.
Yeah, he was very, very tall and very thin.
Yes, that
We
was
always called him galloping hairpin.
no, I didn't know that, but that was my grandfather, and they'd originated from where the salt mines are in Cheshire.
Yeah.
So I don't know how the Pickstock came into it at all. But he was when he retired. He'd been to Crewe, he'd been all over the place. You know how they sent them round every 3 years. Started off around Comstall, because my mother was born in Comstall, and Mr. Pickstock, the decorator, was born in Comstall.
Yeah.
And then they moved on, I think it was to Duckingfield. Then they went from Duckingfield, because apparently, I never knew this till a few weeks ago, that my cousin said my grandfather had got him with one of the poachers. So he got sent from Marple Bridge and Duckingfield, and so he was sent over to Crewe, out of the way, for a bit. And then when he came back from Crewe, he just did a little bit at Marple and retired and stayed there. And another place on Stockport Road, which I think is an Indian restaurant now, was estate agents. Do you remember him? Johnson or Jackson or something.
Oh, and as the Roberts brothers were.
No, it wasn't them. It
No,
was,
but they were.
yes, well, they got the new
They
one.
had the Vesey building.
Yes, they got the new
Called the
one.
Vesey building. Vesey's built it, didn't they?
Well, this was before that, when it
Yeah.
was a field there, and then you went round the corner.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't doing very well with his estate agent. He started selling furniture and things like that, second-hand shop. And my grandfather, the policeman, went to help him with things like that. And he could just go when he wanted, you know. So,
Was he in the police station near the Jolly Sailor? That's
yes,
where they went down?
yes, that's where he retired
Yeah.
from. And Mr. Collier as well, there was the two of them. And they'd both been in Crewe and come back there and wanted to retire in Marple. And my grandfather and grandmother, they went to live in a rented house up at the top. You go up some steps to them, past Bubbles, the hairdressers. And there used to be a men's hairdresser, so it's still there on the top.
I don't know.
Where are we now?
And going back up Stockport Road, you know, the big houses that are on the left,
Oh, yes.
at the top,
Yes, yes.
facing the Nat West.
Yes.
And Edel carpets. Well, they were there for a time, and my mother and father were married from there, from that house. And then they went lower down and got this other rented house, and my auntie was doing dressmaking there, so Grandma and Grandad went to live with. Despite being a policeman, he started off with epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
It was very sad, latterly, and being a big fellow. If I saw him twitching and things like that, I used to have to run away from him because they're frightened of him falling on me, you know.
Yeah. Did you ever go in my father's shop?
Oh, very often.
Yeah,
You used to pop up through the floor.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That was probably my granddad, actually.
Oh, it was both.
Harold,
of them.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was both of them.
Yeah.
Your dad
Both
as
of
well.
them, because I remember
Harold
going
did
and I
watch
had,
down the cellar.
I forget what the shoes were called, but I used to go there and get some lovely shoes
Yeah.
from
Oh,
your
yeah.
father.
Meltonia and John Smith's,
That's
John
right.
White's.
Yeah,
I forget what they were now. But anyway, he had them at the back and there was all these boxes.
yeah.
And he never quite knew where they were himself, and he'd get loads and loads of boxes out. And your father went to school with my husband and my brother. And so he was known quite well, you know. And you used to go, and you'd sometimes be in there ages. You could have taken a pair of shoes out before he came up,
Yeah.
you know. Pushed his door up and up he
Yeah,
came.
yeah.
Well,
It was like
that's the cellar where he did all
He
the
really
mending
did,
down
yeah.
there.
it was like
yeah.
a jack in a box.
Yeah.
You know.
Stitching handbags and saddles and
Yes.
goodness knows what down there.
We used to take all
Cups
our
of tea for people.
Yeah.
we used to
And
take
especially
all
on
our
Saturday.
shoes
Yeah.
to him, and he was very good with children as well. I got
Yeah.
some children's shoes there. Did you, Lillian?
Yes.
Well, he was
Oh,
a
yes.
specialist. He was a shoe specialist. He
That's
actually
right.
did a lot
Foot-
of shoes
yeah,
for
foot specialist,
people with
Yes.
club feet, in what they
Yes.
called in those
Yes,
days.
you had your feet measured there.
Yeah,
That's
Yes.
right, yeah.
Yeah, he could actually build a shoe from scratch.
Yes.
It's you know, he didn't like it when people call him a cobbler, because a cobbler literally just sticks it
Yes,
on top,
yeah.
where
Yeah.
he would pull the welt off and re-welt it so it's like a
Yeah.
new shoe again.
And then he used to sing, didn't he?
That's right, yeah.
He used to go up to the Ridge Chapel, and because when I got married, lived on Hawk Green, I married a Hawk Green fellow, and my mother-in-law used to spend the time between All Saints and the Ridge Chapel, and your father was in the Messiah and in different things, and he used to sing lovely solos. Have you, either of you, got any? Do you sing, either of you?
I have sung the recitatives in St George's, yeah.
Good, yeah.
I don't even sing in the shower.
But anyway, you know, it's amazing to see these things. And my daughter, when she left this country and was going abroad, my son does a lot of drawing and painting, and she wanted a scene of Marple, and she really wanted the scene at the hills and, you know, a nice view. And he did your father's shop and what is now Winterson's and part of Market Street when they'd pedestrianised it. And that's what she's got, a big picture on their wall.
Nice, yeah. Yeah.
Not very viewful when.
Used to be the co-op.
Well, I mean, he was well done, but it wasn't really what she wanted.
No.
But it's historic now, probably. As it was.
Well, I'll have to take a photograph of it and let you have a look.
Yeah. How are you doing for time?
I'm okay. Do you want a drink, anybody?
No, you all right? You want
I'm
to
all
carry
right.
on?
I've got my
you,
water there, yeah.
You want to carry on now? Have we had enough?
We'll carry on a
Well,
bit.
we've more or less got to the end of Stockport Road, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yes, I was just going to say, when you got to the end of Stockport Road, you went to the co-op. It used to fascinate me. You went up the steps, and then you went inside, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you could have so much butter, you know. I mean, that'd be handy for us on our own now, because everything you've got to buy is in.
Well,
Pre-packed,
that
yeah.
was at left-hand side, and the general groceries was at the right-hand side.
Yes.
And you sort of went in the middle.
And then you put sugar in, you know, they'd weighed it out and everything.
Yeah.
And then when you went to pay, if you hadn't got the right money, it whizzed across the shop into somebody that was sitting up in a cashier's office, and then it whizzed back again with your change.
Yeah.
Used to fascinate me, but it's a lovely building, that, you know, up the steps and everything. And then across the road was the gents' tailors,
And the
which
haberdashery.
belonged to and then the haberdashery next door.
And
and
then
you
on
could
the
get-
corner was the furniture, the quat furniture.
That's right. You
And
could,
round the corner was the fish shop, the
Yes,
quat
yeah.
fish shop,
Yeah.
and the quat butchers.
Butchers, yeah. And there was a greengrocer's there
Yes,
as well, wasn't there? Yeah.
Yeah.
you could get everything
You
you,
could,
wanted just
yeah.
on that bit.
As long as you remembered your number.
Ah, that's it, yes.
You remember your number. Do you remember your number?
I don't not now,
Oh,
no.
I do remember ours. 50616.
And I can remember when it was Divvy Day,
Oh yes.
people
yeah.
were queuing up when they
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
And when I moved to Hawk Green, it was just a very small co-op.
Mm.
And at the back, it was that big shop at the top.
Mm.
And at the back, there's a little sort of office sticking out. And people were queuing right down Barnesville Road to go for the divvy.
Yeah. Well, it was a good thing.
And we all went, if it was a nice day, we all went on the green afterwards. And somebody round about to bring out the tray with the tea and
Yeah.
coffee, whatever
Sounds
was wanted.
nice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was much more community minded though then, wasn't
Oh,
it?
Yes, yes, it was lovely.
We were able to.
That's right, yeah.
And we used to go dancing at the baths.
Yes, put the floor on, didn't they?
Yes, they put the floor
Go
on every.
bouncy in the
And the
middle.
Conservative Club.
Yes.
Oh yes, that was
yes.
another place.
And the Catholics on Sunday night, they had dances.
Yes. And New Mills Town Hall
Yeah.
as well.
Romley Public Hall.
I didn't go there as much, but I went to New
Yeah.
Mills Town Halls from there. We went on the bus, you see, there was no cars.
And you
there.
walked home.
That's
Because
right,
the
yeah.
last bus had gone and
Mm.
you walked home.
And Strines.
Was your
the-
father working there going,
At the gate, yes.
we went to down to the Strines Mill there. They had dancers down there.
You used to walk in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if anybody was going to attack you, they'd have to come from either
You
side.
see them,
So
yeah.
you'd
yeah,
have
yeah.
time to
Get away,
take
yeah.
up your ear.
There was some lads on Bowden Lane, the family of them, I won't mention the name, and we used to know they went to New Mills, and we'd been to as girls, to the mill at Strines dancing, and were walking up the centre of the road, and they'd pull their car up at the side of us, want us to jump in, but we always said, and one of them said to me, well, I know you live on Bowden Lane, so you'd be all right, but I wouldn't have been. I never got in the car.
No.
And then I was dreading going down Bowden Lane because my other friends lived at the top end, and in case they followed me down Bowden Lane.
That's terrible, isn't it? That?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were well known, these lads were. And one of them played lacrosse with my brother, so he thought he was a great friend, but he wasn't.
It's a good game of lacrosse, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. I used to have a friend where I worked to. Both him and his brother both played lacrosse for Stockport and Urmston.
But they played just down the road here, in the field, yes. You know where the bungalows are here?
Yes.
Opposite, but below where you live,
Yes.
bungalows there. Well, that was the lacrosse field.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh.
My brother used to play there. So he did it because he had curvature of the spine.
Yeah.
Ah.
And they said it was good for his spine, you know, to play.
Did you play any sports?
Badminton and tennis.
Yes.
Used to play. I joined the tennis club at Strines for a time because I don't know. I sort of went to the youth group down at Strines Church.
There used to be tennis courts on Hibbert Lane.
Yes, there were.
Methodist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Methodist Tennis Club on Hibbert Lane.
There were lots of places where you could go.
Yeah.
It's just the
Yeah.
Bravins now, I
Yeah.
think,
I
isn't it?
believe across the road there they had where the garage used to be, which is now the big house, the new house, was a tennis court at the back there.
Across here.
Yeah, next door to the Ash. Yeah.
Really?
The back end was a tennis court.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I tell you where there was
Mr.
a tennis.
Tuckness, if you remember Tuckness's,
Yes.
yeah, it was theirs.
Oh, was it?
they
Well,
owned
Frank
it.
Tuckness came and lived
That's
here
right,
at the
yeah,
end.
yeah.
Yes.
He had
Because I
the
he bought me that little
cotton mill at
candle
Ashton.
there.
He had the cotton mill
That's
at
right.
Ashton.
Yes.
Mm.
But
Well, they had the big. It was their. They owned it, and where
Yeah.
the garage was at the back was the big tennis court.
and then past, I was just thinking about the co-op and past there on Stockport Road.
Do you remember Miss Braddock, the
Oh, yes,
dancing
yes.
school,
Oh, yes.
opposite the picture house?
Exactly.
But before that,
She
they were
lived
at,
on Hibbert Lane.
Yeah, well, she lived near the
Beamsmore.
golf course. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Beamsmore.
that's
I was
right.
going to say before that, I used to go with some friends Cross Lane and Buxton Lane up there to the dancing class every
Yeah,
Thursday.
Beamsmore, yeah.
Yeah. And then later on, my granddaughter went to her class, which was on Stockport Road then.
Yeah.
Don't remember anything else at the moment, I can't think.
Is the picture house across, was that there?
Oh,
The
cinema,
Regent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, but before that there was a little picture house, you know, behind the
The gem. on
Yeah.
the little
Church
gem.
Lane.
Yeah,
Yes,
I heard
on
about
Church
that.
Lane. Have you heard of
I
that?
heard about that. Yeah.
And
yeah.
then it changed into, they made bullets and that in the war, didn't they, there?
Yeah.
Packed them, and it was a munitions
Mm.
place.
And wasn't there somebody that did something firelighters or something, and then one Sunday afternoon it all
Oh,
set.
that was afterwards, after the war.
Yes,
It
it
went
set,
up in
got set on
flames.
fire.
See the firelighters work then.
Tell you
Yes,
what, now that's interesting actually. At that place, it was called Star Sign in between,
Yes.
wasn't it? And the bloke invented these cat's eyes in the
Oh, yeah.
road.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they
he
were
lived
first
he
made.
lived next door to us.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they were first made there.
Yeah.
And lower down Church Lane, I've just thought when we were talking about tennis courts, on the corner of Lee Avenue, there was a big house there. I don't know what it is now.
It's still a big house.
Is it?
Yeah.
And then they had a tennis court
Yes.
on the side, didn't they? What were
Yeah.
they called? Holes or holes? Something.
Hulse.
Holes, was
Hulse.
it?
Yes.
Hulse.
And they had a nice tennis court because they let one or two of us girls in our teens go and play there.
I used to go and play tennis at Marple Hall
Oh, yeah.
on the tennis courts there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Went to school with the daughter of the housekeeper, you see.
Very useful.
It was. It
Yes.
was in the war. You know, you could go and play tennis there.
Yeah.
Plenty of room. And
When the last one to live at Marple Hall, one of the Bradshaws, he was the one that they're getting a bit stiff. You want to have a walk
No,
round?
no, I'm all right.
He was the one that used to walk up the road and
yes.
he was looking for something. He wasn't
Yeah.
quite with it, you know. and then he'd go back down the road, and he'd pretend or pick something up, and then I thought he had dropped something at one time, but he hadn't. This was his routine.
Yeah.
And then he'd go a bit farther on, and then he'd come back to where he was looking in the first place.
Yeah.
It was sad.
Yeah.
And then he, and I don't know who it was or whether it was a relative, they moved up to Wibbersley Lodge
That's right.
on the top. And then, of course, the hall was sold, which was a shame.
The hall was disgusting. It wouldn't have happened now.
No.
No.
There would have been a group in no time.
Would have been
Friends
listed.
of Marple Hall.
Yes.
And it would have been listed, as you say.
Yes, it's very sad.
And so would be Brabbins as well, I should think. Brabbins
Yes.
Hall as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Brabbage Hall was never as impressive.
No.
No,
as it
just a
was,
flat.
Yeah.
Because people couldn't go in Brabbins Park in those days, and we were in the Girl Guides belonging to St Martin's, so we were allowed to go in. And I remember seeing this, and my auntie was very friendly with Mrs. Hudson, Miss Hudson, that was at the hall. And it was very interesting, really, and she took some of us in to have a look. But there again, she said, I can't keep it up.
No. It was,
And nobody would help her to keep it up, which was sad.
Yeah.
So it just deteriorated. But she used to allow us to play in the park. But when she blew a whistle, we had to go back
Yeah.
to say she'd had enough of us.
That
I mean,
Miss
she couldn't
Hudson.
see.
Was that Miss Hudson?
Yes.
Because she taught me as well.
Oh, did she? Well, this was just Girl Guide times, Friday night usually.
Well, I went
do you
to
remember the
Marple Hall.
Hedridges?
Yes,
Miss
yeah,
Hedridge.
yes, Mr. Hedridge, yeah.
And
Oh,
Miss
yes.
Hedridge
And Miss
that ran
Hedridge,
at
yeah.
the Red
Did
Cross.
she teach at Marple Hall School?
Yes.
Down Rose Hill?
Top of Arkwright Road.
Marple
Miss Hudson.
High?
Yeah,
That's where I went,
that's
Marple
where
High.
I went.
Yes.
Yeah,
Which is now Brabbins.
that's right.
Yes, well, that's where I went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it was one of her last 12 months or so
Yes.
she taught me. And then it became Mrs.
Seed.
No, it was Mr. Larter and Mrs. somebody else, somebody or other, and Mrs. C came after that.
Yeah.
I was
They
trying to
had the
think who,
nursery school across
That's
the road.
right, yes, that's right.
I was trying to think who. the
Mr.
people-
Larter took over.
No, before that, when it was first opened, when I went.
Well, I don't know then, but
Whether
I know it was Miss
Greenwood or
Hudson when
something.
I went,
'Cause
and
he-
Mr. Larter took over.
He had epilepsy,
Mm.
the headmaster, and his wife, she was lovely. I can't just remember what the names were now, when I first went.
Yeah,
And there was another one, wasn't there, down Stockport Road?
yes,
Right, Red Cap School.
Oh, the
Yes,
Red
that's
Cats,
right,
that
yeah.
was below the station.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that I know much more.
Well, I think that's been well enough for you.
Do you remember the big Masonic place opposite my father's shop, next to the co-op, if you're going up Market Street?
Yes.
You remember that big building there that had all the gravestones at the back and they pulled it
was
down
the
to put
Prims.
Iceland?
That was the Prims Church.
Yeah, well, we watched that out of my father's shop as they tore it down.
Yeah.
And then at the top there it was like 5 steps, a shop you could get anything in,
Yes.
Yes.
absolute anything, and it was really rickety, wasn't it?
Yes.
You could get anything
There was
in
a
there.
shoe repairist on there.
Yes, Mr.
Bradbury.
Bradbury, yes. Yeah, he passed me for my shoemaker in the guides.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and he said, told my father that if any time I could go and work for him, no problem, because I did better work than he did.
Bill Bradbury. It was
Bill
called.
Bradbury,
Yeah,
yeah, because it was down the
And
steps.
then was
of
it a
his-
cycle shop there?
That's
I
right,
think?
yes.
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 But before that, there were some cottages,
Yes, that's
and there was
right, yeah.
somebody in there, an old man called Ebenezer.
That's right.
and he was
'Cause
on the
before
church
it was
choir.
before the flower shop moved across, wasn't
Yes,
it? Because
yes,
the flower shop was on the
yes,
right,
yeah.
and there was the chemist, Mr. Hopkinson.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
He was on that side because that was all cottages, and
Yes.
then he went over, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. I saw him not long ago. He's in a wheelchair now.
Who's that?
Mr. Hopkinson. He's still going.
And we've seen Mr. Ashley as well from Ashley's. You know, the
Yes.
pastry
Mr.
shop,
Ashley,
yeah.
Yes.
yes,
Well, I'm friendly
yeah.
with the
Yeah,
Ashleys.
yeah.
Do you remember Mr. Appleton, the dentist?
Oh yes.
Do you remember Mr. Brummett?
Yes.
Because I went to
Yes.
Mr. Brummett.
No.
That was Stockport Road.
Yes.
Yes.
Meant to Mr. Appleton.
Yeah, I went to Mr.
The
Appleton's.
first time that I went, well, not the first time. My mother used to take me. you were private patients in those
Yes,
days,
that's
weren't you?
right, yeah.
Down Rose Hill.
Yes,
Yes.
and I went down Rose Hill and I had crooked teeth
Mm.
and he was going to straighten them. And instead of telling me what he was going to do, my auntie had taken me because
Yeah.
my mother and father had gone to hospital with my brother. They thought my brother had got TB in the spine.
Mm.
They didn't tell me.
Where you were going.
No, I was just going to my grandma's for my tea and I'd got to go back, you
Yeah.
know, there and down to the dentist. And when I was at the dentist, he jammed this stuff in, all hot, pink
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't speak, I
Taking
couldn't shout or anything.
Taking an impression of your teeth.
Yes, but I mean,
Oh,
he
it's
could have
awful,
told
that
me,
stuff,
couldn't
isn't it?
he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I know, it's awful.
And then his son, he said to me one time, because when I had my daughter, I got gingivitis or something,
Yeah.
had to be taped. All my gums had to be cut and had to be taped. He said, do you mind if my son comes in and watches this? Because he said the first case he's seen, of course he was going to be a dentist, that was Norman.
That's right, yeah.
So I said, if you're going to be like your father, this was
Yeah,
when he
yeah.
first started. I said he had no bedside manner whatsoever. And anyway, we got, you know, talking about it, and he said, I didn't realise my father was as bad as that. I said, but
He
he
was
was
a
a
bit of a
lovely
tyrant.
dancer when we used to go to dances in the baths.
Yeah,
He used to dance, he was a beautiful dancer.
Yes, it was no nonsense, wasn't
No,
it?
and
Open
he-
wide, you know.
And his wife worked as a secretary in my father's office at
Oh,
London
right.
Road Station.
Yes.
In
Oh,
those days. It's amazing, isn't it?
It
And
is,
now
yeah.
my son lives in the house that she was born in. Well, has the house.
Gracious. It goes
Marple
round,
Bridge.
doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it does. Do you remember Mrs. Shawcross?
No, no. What was she? Can't remember.
Vegetables, wasn't it? Further up the Market Street. And there was
Harrops.
Edwards, what's his name?
Harrops,
Harrops, yes.
Parrots.
Harrops.
Oh, Harrops, yes.
Yeah,
Bill Harrop.
that's
Yes.
right. And then there was another one further down opposite the wreck, wasn't there? Another shop there.
On the corner.
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, that was a grocer's.
that's a grocer's as
Yes,
well, yeah.
yes.
And there's Lehman's, actually. Remember Lehman's by the
Oh,
Was it
that's it,
Lehman's?
just
Yes.
on
Well,
the
Lehman's were
corner.
on the corner of
On
Union
Union
Road,
Road.
and then
That's
they
right,
moved
yeah,
down
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And then I tell you who else was on Stockport Road going back, just above my auntie and uncle's. There was a lady called Mrs. Marshall, and she sold
Oh, yes.
ladies'
Oh, yeah, yeah.
underwear, lingerie as they call it.
Yeah.
And I remember when my daughter had been born, I thought I'd like something really nice. And there was a beautiful underslip in the window there, and I couldn't afford it. It was only about £3,
Yeah.
you know.
That's a
And-
lot then, though, wasn't
Yes.
it? Mm.
And so I went in and said to her, she said, would you like it? I said, but I haven't got the money. I said, I've only got £1. She said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll take the £1. And she said, you can pay me the rest when you like.
Oh, yeah, can't
thought-
do that now.
Yeah.
No,
But it
she
was
was
lovely
really
then.
lovely.
Mm.
And I had several things from her like that. And she said, now, if you don't want to pay for them right away, it's quite all right,
Yeah.
you know.
Good.
Do you
But I
remember
used to say
Dorothy
that-
Walford, the hairdresser?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
She
Well,
lived
my-
on that side up the steps,
Yeah.
didn't she?
First of all, she lived next
She
door
lived
to
near
my
the post
grandma,
office.
grandfather.
Near the
Post office. Yeah.
She lived next to my grandparents. And they all used to leave the doors
And
open
that's
and
right,
go wandering in and out of it.
Yeah.
Lower down.
And
Yeah.
Mrs. Varden.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Chew, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Mrs. Varden with a wool shop.
Yes, yeah.
They were the first people that I ever heard of going abroad for holidays, the Vardens.
Really? Mm.
And they were abroad when the Second World War started. And I know my grandmother and everybody was worried, would they get back,
Yeah.
you know. But they did do, they got back safely. But they were, she was very nice as well.
Remember the Williams, was it Williams? Next to the butchers?
John Williams.
John Williams, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Because they could they did slice the bacon for you and
Yes.
cut slabs of butter
Yes.
off and things, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the far end of Market Street,
Was Jones.
that was Jones,
Jones,
Grocers.
Yeah.
And then after they
Nathaniel
moved,
Gould's, first of all. It
Yes.
was on Church Lane. And Jones was the manager.
and then there was the
And then
bonbon
they
next to
went
it.
And he opened it.
And do you remember the Albert Schools?
Yes.
Because I used to go up onto the top floor with my rabbits. We used to do rabbit shows
Oh,
on
yes,
the top floor.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, my mother went to school there, and my
Oh,
father,
right, yeah.
they went to school there.
Mm.
But then that was a library, wasn't
That's
it?
right, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
strange.
Mm. Mm.
And there was a
Yes,
linen
before
shop.
They went to the park.
Yes. So, and there, going a bit farther up Church Lane, there was the bunk.
Yes.
The people, mother and father met on the bunk apparently.
What's the bunk?
It was, you know, going down Bramham Road.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be very bumpy like that.
Oh.
A marvellous toboggan place. And it was just all fields, you know, and this little stream at the bottom with a little bridge over it. And my mother and father apparently used to go, and they met because my mother was friendly with Stanton Edwards, who was headmaster at the Willows. Very friendly with him. He'd only got one leg. And she saw my father and preferred my father, so that was the end of Stanton. But
did you go to the Willows School at all?
No.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Harrytown
yeah.
afterwards.
Harrytown,
Yeah.
I went to Oriel Bank.
Oh, did you?
I went to the Willows as well. In
Oh, my
fact,
husband went
one
to-
of the chap, Mr. What was it? I can't remember his
Rebel,
name.
no.
I'm
Rebel.
trying to think. The chap who did the woodwork, Jackson.
Jackson.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, he was nice,
Yeah.
wasn't
He
he?
taught my father, and he taught me.
Right,
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
a nice fellow. Didn't he live at the top of Bone Lane, the houses
not
on
sure where
Stockport
Yes,
Road? Yeah.
yes.
Yes, he was very nice.
We used to have another chap called Taffy. Taffy Williams.
Taffy Williams.
Yeah.
He lived on Stockport Road.
Yeah. It's
He
amazing.
did music. And he used to play the piano and stand up playing the piano and watching everybody.
There was one fellow that did art there latterly.
Griffiths?
Pardon?
Griffiths?
No.
No, he was at Hyde.
Anyway, whatever he did art, and he lived right over the ridge, past that bit that goes down past the Pierce's cottage. There's two big houses on the top there, and he lived in one of those, and he had a sister living with him and her illegitimate child. But he was a nice fellow, and my niece also taught there, Maureen Graham that had been, and she taught there as well. I can't remember what his name was. Anyway, one day he just retired, and apparently was up mending some tiles on his roof, and he collapsed and died, sprawled on the roof.
Oh dear.
And they said nobody else could die like that. He didn't even fall off.
No.
He was just sprawled over the top, with his arm over the top.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
had to get the ambulance and the fire
Nobody
brigade.
to get him down. Oh,
The art teacher when I was there was called Mr. Mifflin, which he used to have up at the top. He used to have a hen farm when he retired.
That's him.
Mr. Mifflin.
Mr. Mifflin.
Right, he was right over the ridge with his hen farm.
Yeah.
That was Mr. Mifflin that died on the roof.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a great chap. He was.
Yes, he was, yes.
He always come. He used to come up to me and used to, because I used to be good at clay modelling.
Yes.
We just did nothing old class, and then he used to go like this. And he used to come up and go, "Oh, wonderful, wonderful!" And put it into the kiln, you see.
Yes.
And yeah, he's a good artist. He was.
Yes.
I like Mr. Mifflin. Yes.
And he was a single fellow, and as I say, his
That's right,
sister
yeah.
lived with him
Had
with this
hair
little
came
girl.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was up doing something at his roof. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
French pastries.